You see, we've been conditioned to believe that money is the master key, that if you don't have a fat bank account, you can't unlock the doors to destiny. But I came to tell you, purpose is more valuable than a paycheck. Purpose will outlast $1. Purpose will wake you up in the morning when you've got nothing but instant noodles in the pantry and a dream in your spirit. Purpose will have you walking into rooms where your name ain't even on the list because it carries the scent of divine assignment. When God gives you a purpose, He doesn't check your wallet first. He doesn't do a credit score evaluation before He assigns destiny. He doesn't call the bank, He calls you. And when He calls you, He equips you not always with cash, but with courage, not always with money, but with movement, not always with wealth, but with wisdom. Because purpose doesn't need luxury, it needs conviction. There are people right now who had all the money, all the networks, all the privilege, but no purpose. They bought buildings but lost their sense of direction. They flew private jets but couldn't find peace. Because without purpose, provision becomes poison. But when you are anchored in purpose, even broken, you are rich in potential. There's something powerful about a person who doesn't have much but believes deeply. We live in a world that equates resources with readiness, but I've come to disrupt that mindset. Just because you're underfunded doesn't mean you're unqualified. Just because you weren't born into the right family, didn't go to the right school, didn't shake the right hands, it doesn't disqualify you from walking in your purpose. What God put in you wasn't for sale. It can't be auctioned off. It wasn't inherited. It was imparted. And I hear you, but Bishop, how do I pay the bills? How do I survive while I chase this invisible thing called purpose? Let me tell you something. Purpose often shows up in pain. It develops in obscurity. It matures in silence. It grows in your wilderness seasons, in the places where no one is clapping for you. When you keep showing up not for a paycheck, but because something deep inside won't let you quit, that's purpose. It was never about having money. It was about being willing. God said, if you're willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. He never said, if you're wealthy and connected. He said, willing. Willing people change the world. Willing people build dreams with duct tape and broken pieces. Willing people launch visions in basements, in borrowed spaces, with 0 followers and nothing but fire in their belly. Think about every great move of God. Moses had a stick, not a staff of gold. David had a sling, not a sword. Jesus was born in a manger, not a mansion. Stop waiting on the perfect financial scenario to start walking in your purpose. Stop waiting on investors to believe in a dream God already approved. You don't need a budget when you've got boldness. You don't need a platform when you've got preparation. You don't need $1 million mentor when you've got the master's voice guiding you. The truth is, most of the people you admire didn't start with more. They started with less, but they used what they had. They worked what they were given, and God breathed on it. Purpose is not convenient. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you applause. It may cost you meals, friends, stability, and sense. But what you gain is fulfillment. What you gain is peace. What you gain is the joy of knowing you were not just existing. You were living on assignment. If you chase money, you may get it and still be empty. But if you chase purpose, money will eventually chase you. It will follow favor. Provision always follows obedience. So stop saying, I can't because I don't have. Say, I must because I've been called. There's a generation waiting on your obedience, not your budget. The world needs your voice, not your connections. They need your purpose, not your paycheck. You are not broke. You're just becoming. You're not under-resourced. You're being recalibrated for a deeper mission. And when it's time, when you've been faithful over little, you'll be ruler over much. Don't despise humble beginnings, because it's in the small things where God tests if you're ready for the big things. So walk like you're already funded. Speak like you're already sponsored by heaven. Move like destiny has already cut the check. Because when you walk in purpose, you never walk alone. The one who gave you the calling will never abandon you. And that, my friend, is worth more than any amount in a bank account. Let the world chase money. You chase meaning. Let them run after influence. You run after impact, and I promise you the God who assigned you will provide for you. Because if he brought you to it, he will equip you through it. No money, no connections, no problem. So many people get paralyzed by what they lack. I don't have the money. I don't know anybody. I'm just trying to survive. But let me tell you something that will shake the dust off your thinking. Obstacles are opportunities in disguise. What looks like resistance is often refinement. What feels like rejection is often redirection. And what appears to be a lack is often the fertile ground where God grows greatness. We cry out for ease, for convenience, for smooth roads. But destiny is not developed in the palace, it's forged in the wilderness. It's in the places of pressure where you learn to press. It's in the seasons of silence where your character starts speaking. Obstacles don't show up to stop you, they show up to shape you. They're not punishment, they're preparation. When you're born with everything handed to you, you never develop grit. You don't know what it means to build from scratch. But those of us who had to fight, who had to hustle, who had to get creative with nothing but vision and faith, we learned that obstacles are not walls, they are windows. Windows that force us to look at things differently, think deeper, work smarter, and grow stronger. Some of the greatest innovations in the world came from people who were at the end of their rope. The Wright brothers didn't invent flight because they had all the money in the world. They had a bicycle shop and a burden to fly. Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times before he found the right formula for the light bulb. But each failure was an obstacle that carried a lesson. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. Steve Jobs was fired from the company he founded, and yet here they are, because they didn't let the obstacle become the end of their story. They let it become the beginning of a new one. We've got to change our relationship with resistance. Resistance doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It often means you're headed towards something right. You don't become strong in easy places. Muscles only grow when they're challenged. Diamonds are made under pressure. Gold is refined by fire. You don't grow by sitting in comfort. You grow when you're stretched, when you're pushed, when you have to cry and crawl and get up anyway. You may not have what others have. You may not have their platform, their name, their resources. But what you do have is the ability to respond to resistance with resilience. And that's a skill money can't buy. It's forged in your nose. It's built in your setbacks. It's carved into you by sleepless nights and silent tears. But once it's in you, once you've learned to take an obstacle and make it an opportunity, you become unstoppable. Think about Joseph in the Bible, thrown in a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, forgotten in prison, but every obstacle was part of the pathway to the palace. God used every step, every unfair situation, every moment of delay to prepare him for leadership. You may be stuck in a pit right now, wondering why things aren't moving, but God doesn't waste pain. He's shaping you for something greater. Stop asking God to remove the obstacle and start asking him, what are you trying to teach me through this? Because maybe the obstacle is the classroom. Maybe the lesson you need for the next level can't be learned on a mountaintop. It has to be earned in a valley. If you keep avoiding resistance, you'll never develop the strength to carry the weight of your own blessing. Some of you are praying for elevation while complaining about the climb, but it's the climb that develops your capacity. It's the struggle that deepens your understanding. You cannot carry great things with a shallow spirit. So when the obstacles come, and they will, don't panic, don't fold, don't curse the process. Instead, look at it and say, this is building me, this is refining me, this is part of my preparation. You want to be trusted with success. Let God see how you handle resistance. Can you still praise when the door slams shut? Can you still work the vision when no one claps? Can you keep sowing seeds when the soil looks dry? That's where the real test is. It's not in the celebration, it's in the crushing. Obstacles force us to innovate. They push us to think creatively. They make us resourceful. They birth new levels of wisdom and strategy. When you've been through enough no's, You stop begging for permission and start building your own platform. You stop chasing validation and start walking in authority. Because now you know, if you can survive that storm, you can handle this next assignment. Don't let the obstacle make you bitter. Let it make you better. Let it sharpen your focus. Let it purify your motives. Let it deepen your faith. When you understand that resistance is part of the process, you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start walking in imperfect progress. So, no money, no connections, no problem. That just means the glory will be greater, because people will look at you and know. It wasn't you, it was God. It wasn't luck, it was purpose. You didn't have the pathway laid out, you paved it. You didn't walk into favor. You fought your way into it, and every obstacle became a stepping stone on the way to destiny. You may be facing some serious mountains right now, but I want you to know, mountains don't move for the comfortable, they move for the committed. And if you stay faithful, if you keep pressing through, the very thing that tried to stop you will become the thing that shaped you for greatness. Obstacles, don't fear them, learn from them, rise above them, use them. There's something powerful about having a vision, not just a daydream, not just a fantasy, but a God-breathed, purpose-filled destiny-driven vision that won't let you sleep at night. And when you have that kind of vision, I don't care who left you, who doubted you, or what's missing from your bank account provision will find you. You don't need to chase money when you carry the assignment of heaven. You don't need to beg for help when you're walking in divine purpose, because what God starts, God funds. We often stress ourselves out trying to figure out how we're going to make things happen. Where's the money going to come from? Who's going to support this? How can I build this thing with no backing? But the truth is, vision is the foundation of provision. If the vision came from God, the resources will come from Him too. Maybe not when you want, maybe not how you expect, but they will come. You're not responsible for figuring out every step. You're responsible for saying yes. Faith is the currency of heaven, and sometimes God withholds physical provision to see if you're willing to walk by faith. Because faith is what moves Him, not fear, not begging, not complaining. Faith that says, I don't have it yet, but I'm going to start building. Faith that says, I don't know how, but I trust who. That kind of faith activates doors. That kind of faith shifts atmospheres. That kind of faith causes favor to track you down. You don't have to manipulate people, play games, or compromise your integrity to get ahead. When you have a God-given vision, resources chase you, favor finds you, and opportunities open in places you never even imagined. Because vision isn't just about what you see, it's about what you believe. Do you believe that the God who gave you the blueprint is also the architect of your outcome? So many people abort their purpose because they didn't see the provision up front. They thought God would hand it all over before the journey started. But that's not how it works. God gives you the vision, and then He tests your faithfulness. Can you build with scraps? Can you walk on a word? Can you keep digging when there's no water in sight? Because if you can move without seeing, you qualify for miracles. You qualify for supernatural provision. Look at Abraham. God told him to leave everything familiar and go to a place He would show him. He didn't hand him a map. He gave him a vision. And as Abraham walked, provision showed up. He didn't see the ram in the bush until he had climbed the mountain. Some of y'all are waiting for the ram before you take the first step. But God says, start climbing and I'll provide. Provision comes with motion. If you're sitting still waiting for everything to fall into place, you'll miss your moment. It's when you start walking, serving, preparing, sowing. That's when things begin to shift. Heaven backs up bold faith. Heaven funds obedient movement. God is not moved by hesitation. He's moved by hunger. Think about Nehemiah. He had a burden to rebuild the wall, but no money, no title, and no army. All he had was vision and favor. But he took the risk to speak up. He took the step of faith, and God touched the heart of a king to fund the mission. That's the kind of provision that comes when you move with vision. It won't make sense on paper. It won't always come from the people you expect, but it will come. When your heart is pure, your motives are aligned, and your vision is God-centered, you don't have to hustle like the world. You don't have to step over people to climb. You walk in grace, not grind. You move by revelation, not manipulation. Because provision attached to vision is not always material. It may show up as divine connections, as creative ideas, as unexpected open doors, or as supernatural strength to keep going. And let me tell you this, provision is not always instant, but it is always intentional. Just because it's not there today doesn't mean it won't be there tomorrow. God may be delaying it to test your consistency, to purify your motives, or to prepare the right conditions. So don't give up because the provision hasn't come yet. Keep the vision alive, keep showing up, keep preparing as if it's already done. That kind of faith draws heaven's attention. If you keep waiting for the money before you move, you'll stay stuck. But if you move on the vision, the money will come. If you step out on faith, the support will come. If you commit to the work, the people, the tools, the resources, they will show up at the right time. Because provision chases vision, so stop stressing about what you don't have. Stop staring at your bank account. Stop comparing your resources to someone else's results. The only thing you need to focus on is, did the vision come from God? If the answer is yes, then keep walking, keep trusting, keep building, because when you have vision, real heaven, sent purpose, driven vision, you're never truly lacking. You may not have what you want, but you have what you need. And what you need will multiply in your hands when you walk by faith. Because when God gives you a vision, He always gives you provision. People often think success comes from knowing the right people. That if you could just get in the right room, shake the right hand, have the right last name, then everything would fall into place. But let me tell you something. People don't build empires, mindsets do. It's not about who you know. It's about what you believe. It's about the way you think, the way you process adversity, and the way you carry yourself when no one is watching. Because if your mind isn't right, nothing else will be. You could have the biggest opportunity placed in your hands, but if your mindset is still limited, you'll sabotage it. You'll shrink in the presence of greatness. You'll mismanage what could have been a miracle. Because the truth is, your life will never rise above the level of your thinking. You can't build a castle with a poverty mindset. You can't walk into abundance if your mind is chained to survival. The battlefield is not your job, your bank account, or your past. The real battlefield is between your ears. People who build lasting success understand that mindset is everything. They don't wait for conditions to be perfect. They decide that no matter what the circumstances, they will make it work. They don't wait for validation. They self-validate. They don't seek permission to be great. They walk in it. Because when your mind is aligned with purpose, your feet will follow with discipline, your hands will follow with work, and your heart will follow with courage. Look at the story of Gideon. He saw himself as the least, the smallest, the weakest. But God called him mighty. Why? Because God doesn't see the labels people put on you. He sees the mindset you're willing to adopt. You will never win a battle if you don't believe you belong on the battlefield. And some of us have been fighting with the wrong weapons. We're trying to change our life with hustle, connections, and opportunities. But without a renewed mind, it all collapses. When your thinking shifts, your reality follows. That's why the enemy doesn't attack your money first. He attacks your mind. He attacks your confidence, yourself, worth, your perspective. He whispers, you're not enough. He says, no one sees you. But if he can control your thoughts, he doesn't need to touch your life, because you'll self-sabotage. But when you start thinking like someone who is called, someone who is chosen, someone who is worthy, you move differently. You speak with clarity, you walk with authority, you act with expectation. This is why education is important. Not just academic education, but mental elevation. You've got to learn how to break mental cycles of defeat. You've got to train your mind to see possibilities where others see problems. You've got to teach yourself how to lead even when no one follows, how to build even when no one supports, how to believe even when everything looks broken. That takes mindset. That takes intentional, daily renewal of your thoughts. You don't need to know a millionaire to become one. You don't need a famous mentor to discover your calling. You need to believe that what's inside you is greater than what's outside. You need to wake up and say, if nobody opens the door for me, I'll build one. Because your mindset will do more for you than any connection ever could. Your mindset will get you up at 5 a.m. when you feel like sleeping. Your mindset will push you to study, to create, to improve, to fight, long after others have quit. Some people wait their whole lives for someone to give them a chance, not realizing they had the power all along. It wasn't the connection they lacked. It was the mindset. Because if you give someone a platform but their mindset is still small, they'll collapse under the weight. But if you give a powerful mindset even a small opportunity, they'll multiply it into greatness. Mindset is how David faced Goliath. Not with a sword, not with size, not with armor, but with belief. Belief that who he was on the inside mattered more than what stood in front of him. Belief that God had already gone before him. Belief that his past battles, fighting lions and bears, had prepared him for this moment. That's what mindset does. It connects your past to your purpose. It reminds you that nothing was wasted. It teaches you that even rejection was part of your refinement. Let me be clear, I'm not saying connections don't help. I'm saying connections can't replace mindset. Because even if someone opens the door for you, it's your mindset that determines whether you can stay in the room. It's your mindset that determines whether you'll grow, sustain, and reproduce success. So if you want to build something lasting, stop waiting for people and start working on your thinking. Change the way you talk to yourself. Change the way you interpret failure. Change the way you handle correction. Train your mind to serve your vision, feed it with truth, discipline it with focus, protect it with boundaries, because what you feed your mind today will grow into your reality tomorrow. You don't need everyone to agree with you. You don't need approval from the crowd. You don't even need a long resume. You need a mind that's anchored in truth, a heart that's convinced of your calling, and a spirit that's relentless in the face of resistance. People may overlook you. Opportunities may pass you by. But if your mind is strong, you can create again, you can build again, you can rise again, because the greatest asset you have is not your contacts list, it's your conviction. And when you lock into that, no one can stop what God put inside you. We often look at our dreams and feel overwhelmed. We see the distance between where we are and where we want to be, and we feel stuck. We say, if I just had more money, if I just had more help, if I had better tools, more exposure, more backing. But the truth is, God will always start you with what's already in your hand. He doesn't require what you don't have. He activates what you do have. The seed of your future is not somewhere out there. It's already within you. When God called Moses, Moses panicked. He looked at his insecurities, his lack of influence, his stuttering speech. But God didn't ask Moses to bring anything fancy. He said, "What is that in your hand?" A simple shepherd's staff, that was it, just a stick. And God used what was in his hand to part the Red Sea, to perform miracles, to lead a nation out of bondage. Because God never needs something flashy to do something powerful. He just needs something available. Too many of us are waiting on perfect circumstances to start. Waiting for a better job, more recognition, a bigger platform. But if you don't learn how to work with what's already in your hand, you'll miss your moment. You're praying for more, but you haven't mastered the little. You're asking for doors to open, but you haven't knocked with what you've got. We think starting small is a sign of weakness, but it's actually a test of stewardship. If you're faithful over little, God says he'll make you ruler over much. Your gift may seem small. Your voice may seem unheard. Your tools may seem outdated, but let me remind you, every giant tree started as a tiny seed. Every global movement began with one idea. Every success story started with someone deciding to stop waiting and start building with what they had. The problem isn't what you lack, it's that you haven't unlocked what's already in your hands. David didn't have a sword or armor. He had a sling and 5 stones, that's all. But that sling in his hand, combined with faith in his heart, brought down a giant. Because what you carry when surrendered to God becomes supernatural. It's not about the size of the tool, it's about the size of your belief. When you stop despising what's in your hand, God will start multiplying it. You may not have influence, but you have integrity. Start there. You may not have money, but you have an idea. Build on that. You may not have a big following, but you've got a powerful story. Share it. You may not have investors, but you've got vision, and vision is the soil where miracles grow. We keep thinking we need something extra, but you'd be surprised how far you can go with what you already have. You just need to see it differently. That phone in your hand, it can shoot videos, write notes, connect you to the world. That quiet time in the morning, it can birth a business plan. That job you hate, it can teach you discipline, communication, or show you what kind of leader not to be. Everything you need to start is already within reach. You just have to shift your perspective. There's a reason why God doesn't give us the finished product all at once. Because he's not just developing your vision. He's developing you. He's stretching your creativity. He's building your resilience. He's teaching you to trust, to be resourceful, to take nothing and make it something. And when you master that, you become unstoppable because you're no longer dependent on external validation. You're rooted in purpose. Start small. Write the 1 page, record the 1 video, have the 1 conversation. Sell to the 1 customer, speak to the 1 listener. Don't worry about going viral. Don't stress about big numbers. Just be excellent with what you have now. Excellence attracts expansion. Faithfulness invites favor. God can't bless what you're still sitting on. He blesses movement. Remember the widow in 2 Kings. She told the prophet she had nothing but a little oil. He said, "That's enough." And as she poured, the oil multiplied. But it didn't multiply while it sat still. It multiplied as she moved. The miracle wasn't in the container, it was in the action. Some of y'all are sitting on oil, but you haven't started pouring. You haven't started writing. You haven't started building. You're still waiting for permission when God already gave you provision. What's in your hand? You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to take the next step. And then the next, and then the next. Clarity comes with movement. Confidence comes with action. And provision comes when purpose starts walking. So don't be discouraged by what seems small. Don't underestimate what feels insignificant. Your seed may look small, but the tree it becomes will provide shade for generations. Your gift may seem hidden now, but if you work it in silence, it will speak loud in seasons to come. Stop waiting. Stop doubting. Look at your hands. Look at your time, your story, your pain, your lessons, your creativity. That's your starting point. You've already got enough to begin. Don't curse your lack. Bless your resourcefulness. Because when you finally understand that God starts with what's already in your hand, you'll stop chasing miracles and start becoming one. Absolutely. Here's a powerful T.D. Jakes style conclusion that ties together all 5 keynotes from your speech titled No Money, No Connections, No Problem. In an educational, motivational, and faith-driven tone, so now you see, you are not disqualified because of what you lack. You are not denied because you don't have the money. You are not delayed because you lack the connections. You were never meant to start this journey with everything. You were meant to start it with faith, with purpose, with vision, with a renewed mind, and with whatever God already placed in your hand. You don't need a paycheck to walk in purpose. Because when purpose leads, provision follows. You don't need a spotlight to grow. You grow in silence, in pressure, in the grind that nobody sees. You don't need connections when God has already written your name into places you haven't even walked into yet. What you need is conviction. What you need is resilience. What you need is to believe that if God called you, He'll sustain you. The obstacle you're facing, it's not your end, it's your equipping ground. The lack you feel, it's not a limitation. It's the seedbed for innovation. The isolation you're experiencing, that's not rejection. It's divine redirection to something deeper, something richer, something stronger. You're not late, you're not behind, you're right where you're supposed to be. Standing at the edge of your future with everything you need to take the first step. You have vision, you have grit, you have breath in your lungs and a calling in your spirit. That's more than enough. So walk boldly, speak with power, move with authority. Don't you dare shrink because of what you don't have. Stand tall in what you do have, because the world doesn't need your excuses. It needs your obedience. God doesn't bless potential. He blesses movement. It's not about who you know or what's in your wallet. It's about what's in your heart and what's in your hands. No money, no connections, no problem, because what you have is greater than what you lack. What you carry is heavier than what you lost, and where you're going is far more powerful than where you've been. So start now, start small, but start. Because when heaven sees faith, it releases favor. And when you show up with vision, God shows up with provision. No money, no connections, no problem. You've got God, and that's more than enough.